What's up, my beautiful people? Welcome back to See It Through My Eyes. I'm Richie, here flying solo for today, doing a reaction video that I hope you guys find it interesting. So, to give a little bit of backstory, um, as I've shared in the past before, I have struggled with my mental health. I've also struggled with addiction and a couple other things that, this is not what the video is about. However, one thing that, that I've been doing of late is a lot of self work, which I think, regardless of, who you are, how old you are, what gender, whatever, I think it's very important for all of us to do, both spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, all that. Because unfortunately, society doesn't care to help us out, and everybody's selfishly trying to push their own agenda. And unfortunately, I'm seeing that more and more and more. And I'm pretty sure you guys have also seen that, especially here on social media. No matter what the platform is, people for profit are willing to f over people. Whether it's the adult entertainment industry or all these movements, the red pill communities, the toxic feminist movements, like all these movements that are confusing people, right? Not mentioning a lot of the generational traumas and just toxicity that we have been taught since we were little. But today's video is going to be touching on a lot of that, as I've mentioned before in a couple of my other videos that I've done with the team here on this channel, is the fact that we are being told and we have been taught how it's either one or the other side, right? You either have one side that are arguing that being masculine is bad. And I completely 1000% disagree with that. I don't think being masculine is bad. However, the other side is arguing that being masculine, there is no such thing as being toxic masculine, which I completely disagree with that too. No one is perfect in this world, in this life. So we are going to have, mistakes that we have to take as men. We also have to learn how to take self accountability. No one is responsible for our love. No one is responsible for our happiness. No one is responsible for our security and our confidence. And we also need to stop looking for that within other people, whether it's a relationship, whether it's drugs, whether it's, these influencers that quote unquote are helping men, right? I'm not going to get into, all these assholes out here who are profiting on men who are lost, who are misguided, who are looking for something, right? Because unfortunately, you have right now a lot of these feminists who are not helping. They're not helping, other females, and they're not helping men. They're trying to tear away at the at men. They're trying to bring us down, telling us that it's all our fault, right? And is there some things that we as men can do better to help the females in our world and in our lives and in our society? Yes. However, I don't think that by demonizing us and pretty much throwing us to the shitter and making us look like we're the enemy and we're, curse on on the planet is the way to go about it. And so I'm going to be reacting to a video of a young man, I believe he just turned 18, who shares his addiction to porn. I know it's very taboo, right? But like I mentioned earlier, to me, that's one thing that I have learned. I'm 31 now, but that's one thing that I have learned about the adult entertainment industry. Right now, you have your OnlyFans, and you have like all these, quote unquote, empowerment movements, right? Or porn, or just whatever the fuck, like all OnlyFans, cam girls, all this shit. It's prostitution. It's online prostitution. You might not be actually having the sex, like you would if you were to pick up an escort or a prostitute off the streets, but nevertheless, it's still prostitution. Like there's still damage being done, and to me, that's not empowerment to anybody, right? You're basically, well, it's not a rant about OnlyFans and all that, but basically, what I'm saying is we're seeing more and more and more the effects that porn is having on a lot of men. I know women, there are some women that are into porn and all that. However, it seems like for whatever reason, men, maybe because adult entertainment tends to cater more towards men, I'm not sure. It affects men more than it does the small percentage of women that watch porn. So in this video, we're going to listen to this young man, well, dude, basically share his story, and it's heartbreaking. So disclaimer: if you are sensitive to this type of content, go check out one of our other videos. But I think it's very important for us to start having this conversation, especially us as men, because either we demonize or we judge or we make fun of, or we throw them into these little boot camps of, oh, you need to go over here and pay thousands of dollars so you can be able to be a man and be more masculine. All this bullshit, right? No, like, there's work to be done, but you shouldn't be having to pay out of the ass, pay a mortgage in order to feel just an ounce bit more masculine about yourself. Um, I I I think porn, like any addiction, right? There's moderations. I wouldn't completely say don't watch any porn at all. Um, as someone who, just being transparent, I've struggled with a sex addiction, um, where I was just going and bouncing from one meaningless relationship to the other. Um, but nevertheless, I was using sex as something to replace an emptiness that I felt. Right. So porn is basically not too different. Just the only difference, you're visually doing it, and to yourself you're doing it. But nevertheless, a porn or consumption of porn can become its own addiction, right? We're so used to the addictions of alcohol and other types of drugs, but we don't realize how a lot of these mindsets and behaviors can become addictive and very destructive, as we're going to listen to. But with my little intro out the way, we are going to be checking out this video. Now, I'm not too sure if I'm going to be doing the entirety of the video. So if you do want to watch check out the entire video. The channel is called Dr. And the video is called "My Porn Addiction is Destroying My Life." Um, so go check out the entire video. If I don't do it, just check out the video completely. I think you guys would enjoy it. And check out the channel. I'm subscribed. I've been subscribed for a couple months now. But I think it's a conversation that we need to have. But with that being said, let's get right into the video now.
Let's go to Joseph in Las Vegas. What's up, Joseph?
Hey, Dr. John, how you doing?
Good, my brother. What are you doing, man?
Nothing much, man. Just started college about a month ago. Kind of getting my life together, if that's the best way to describe it.
Hey, if you figure out how to get your life together in your first semester of college, you are way ahead of the game, man. I didn't know what day it was until like my junior year. Good for you, dude.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm trying to get my life together as of right now. It hasn't really been easy. I'll just say that.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Yeah, well, I've got some issues going on, and I think that they need to really be addressed, because this is really stealing my life, and it's really stealing my hopes for the future. And I think if this problem isn't addressed with me, I really think I'm going to have a hard time making it through adult life and trying to become a man, because
how old are you?
The way I'm going. Oh, I just turned 18 about a month ago.
Okay. I don't know what you're about to tell me, but I don't want you to give up on yourself right now. Okay? I want to start this conversation with a sense of optimism, not a sense of, if I don't, it's all over. Because you're 18, man. Okay?
Yeah.
Is that cool?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I hear you.
And I also know that whatever you're working through right now feels like it's weighing you down. So get into it, man. What's going on in your life?
Yeah. So ever since elementary school, I've always had this struggle talking to women, and and I feel like none of them have ever liked me. I feel like if any ever did try to talk to me, I feel like it was just I would say, not to, I would not say brush me on, but like to kind of just play with me, like funny, kind of to make fun of me, if that's a better word to use. And I struggled with this all through elementary school and all through middle school and pretty much all through high school. I'd see other guys who, who were, who were, I wouldn't say they had girlfriends. I mean, I'd say they were much better than me, and they had the opportunity to have a better social life, to hang out. And I feel like, and then this might sound typical to most people, but to me, it's a big struggle. And I'll tell you why, because it led me down a path of addiction that I really wish I would have never started. I'd say that it's like a cigarette. Now, I got into the addiction of pornography and masturbation, and I became super heavily addicted, and I still am. Was like masturbating like 30 times a day, and it's really bad. And
so, just a start off my reaction to this. I think a lot. That's one thing that I've learned, and I'm learning. When I listen to testimonies and just either in person or online of different men, whether it's the incel community, a lot of these dudes are part of like the manosphere, the red pill community, and all that. And disclaimer: look, I'm not here to start judging a lot of these guys. I will judge the ones who are doing the misleading, but this is not the conversation for that. But a lot of guys who feel this way. The dude was sharing how, like, he never really had good luck with women, especially growing up. And to give a little bit of backstory about me, like me, I never had that great of luck with women. Like on occasion, I would have like a girl or two when I was little, that would pay attention to me. I had one girlfriend honestly throughout my entire until I was like 15. That was kind of on and off, but most girls wouldn't even like pay attention to me. I would be considered one of the nerdy kids, and then eventually I was kind of considered of that just like crazy kid. But I never really had good luck with women. Um, and I'm no player. I'm no, 6 foot tall model or anything like that. Even till this day, sometimes it's not hard for me to interact with women. Um, Now I would say, like compared to back then. So I can understand that disconnect that you feel, that insecurity that a lot of these guys have felt, that push them to transition right to eventually having these insecurities and turning to an addiction or isolating themselves, or a lot of the times where you see, like I said, in these like communities of men quote unquote supporting each other, is this hatred of women, right? And if you're a guy, I'm not trying to save anybody's, but if you're a guy that listens to this and you feel that type of way, you're going through that, look, there's unfortunately no easy solution. There's no sugarcoating in it either. Women like people, right? They're going to reject you for various reasons, and you don't have no control over that, right? There's going to be females, if you take care of yourself physically, you're not stinking like ass and swamp ass and all that, you're taking care of yourself. Maybe you're just average looking, but you don't know how to interact, especially as a kid. When we're all awkward and socially awkward and all that shit, it's not your fault, right? As an adult, right? If you just happen to be like that, if you're not the most sociable person, that's just your personality. Don't understand that there's a lot of different types of women out there. That's one thing that I've learned, right? To me, when I started my teens, like 15, 16, that's when something happened where women were paying attention to me. You got me? And yeah, women of all kinds, not just different ethnicities, ages, body types, personalities also, popularity, if you even want to get into that. Women with disabilities, such as myself, and I'm not a woman, but you got me, like somebody with a disability, and and and, uh, and women without disabilities. I've actually only dated like 4 or 5 girls with disabilities, but most of them, and at 31, I've hit like double digits at this point of dating women. Um, but most didn't have a disability. And see, my insecurity growing up was because of my visual impairment. Now growing up, it wasn't as obvious as it is now, because now I use a seeing eye dog. At one point I had a white cane, but back then, like unless you knew me, you weren't able to tell that, I was partially blind. But that was always my insecurity, that I was like, women are not going to pay attention to me. They're not going to want to talk to me or date me or fuck me or anything like that, or love me or whatever because of my disability. But when I started talking to more girls, I started attracting more girls. One thing that I caught myself in that led to the sex addiction that I fell under in my early 20s was the fact that it was kind of like a kid in a candy store, right? The minute that I got one, I wanted more, but it was also that need, like I said earlier, that emptiness that I felt within me, that I wanted to fill that hole that no puns intended, that I felt inside of me, right? So I wanted more attention. I wanted to feel secure. I wanted to feel loved and all that, and I it wasn't enough. Like one wasn't enough. The minute that I was so insecure back then, that the minute that I felt that one female was distant themselves or wasn't giving me the love that I wanted, the attention that I wanted, the sex that I wanted, I would immediately just jump ship or jump to a new one. Or, as I mentioned in my dating video, story time video, go check that out if you haven't. Like, I would just go from one relationship to another, right? And it became such a destructive mindset that I had, such a destructive behavior that I had, because it drove me to, constantly having that need to fill that need. You get me? Like having to have somebody right there to accompany me because I felt so, less worthy of love than other people did, you know? And I started like bouncing from one relationship to another with women that sometimes I hardly even knew. Sometimes I don't even, I didn't even know their names. But if, cute face, nice body, that's all I needed, jump into a new relationship. Sometimes, I got so desperate that not even that. It was just, we connected and that was it. Fizzled out, most of my relationships wouldn't even last like a week at times, right? But just having that need met, by other people. That's how I used to think. You get me? And I've never had like a porn addiction, but I'm assuming, just like I said, addiction is an addiction. So I'm assuming that that's something similar. And this dude, I keep trying to call him a kid because he's 18. Like you can hear it in his voice, like the dude is struggling, and it's brave for him to open up, like in a public platform, such as YouTube, on this channel that he called into to the Dr. John Deloney show. It's such a brave thing to do, to be that vulnerable, because you have people that are going to judge you. Sometimes you're going to be your worst judge, your worst critic too. So the fact that he's opening up and he's sharing how like, that's just crazy to me. 30 times a day, like masturbating that many times. Like my God, how the did you not get injured, my dude? Like, you got me, like, not to get all graphic or too personal, but like, even in my worst, moments of like, sex, I was like maybe 4 times a day, and that would like wear me out. So how we didn't get like a physical injury, my dude, like that's just crazy. But it shows the severity of the addiction that he's struggling with. The fact that he feels the need to do it 30 times a day. Like we men, we get erections and all that many times throughout the day, but it takes a lot also to just go through all of that. I gotta censor myself here on YouTube, but to go through with the act of masturbation and all that, and it's doing such it's doing such damage to your mind, not mentioning to your own self-esteem, because yeah, for that moment it feels good and you're able to kind of escape to this fantasy world. However, you have to come out of it eventually. Once you bust that nut, you gotta eventually ground yourself. You gotta realize, like, this is my reality though. You get me? Like, all that it's part of the fantasy, and what they're trying to feed me in porn and all that. But my reality is the fact that I'm alone. My reality is the fact that it's hard for me to connect to women. Uh, and 30 times a day, you feel that insecurity that only goes away for those fruit. No, not even goes away, but you only get distracted of that insecurity, that need, that whatever emptiness you feel for only a couple minutes, or however long you last, and it's still there. it's still there, right? And you know, I know some asshole will say like, oh well, you know, it's not, you're only gonna feel good for a couple minutes, a few moments. Why the f- are you gonna do it? That's how addiction works. It doesn't have to make sense to us. And it just has to make sense in that moment. I'm pretty sure this dude, just by the sound of it, he beats himself up. No pun intended. He beats himself up already over it, just knowing that, you know, he has this addiction. Nobody wants to feel addicted. Nobody wants to feel hurt or be in pain or suffer or feel lonely or depressed. You know, but unfortunately, society lacks compassion, and we have a lot of assholes that want to profit off of that. Anyways, back to the video.
And I don't laugh when I say it because to me, it's not a laughing matter.
No,
To me,
it's hell, dude. It's hell. It's hell.
It's like a cigarette.
Hey, it's way worse than a cigarette. It's way worse than a cigarette, man. Okay. You don't have to justify it to me. It's 30 times a day. Like, yeah, you're a full blown addict, man. And that's hell. Yeah. So I'm not laughing at all with you. Okay.
Yeah. And so, yeah, thank you, John. And then, so it was, and then what's worse about it is that I feel lost. I feel angry. I feel lonely. And then my mom didn't allow me to get my driver's license till I was 18, which was this last year. And so when I would see all these people that had a much better, I would say, life, and I had no job, I had no had no car. I really, really felt miserable. Like I felt really, really miserable and depressed. And what's worse, even worse, is that even till now, when I have all the opportunity to pick up more work and to, you know, control my finances and control, I feel like that scar of the last 8 years of my life sticks with me because it's kind of like I got out of high school and I'm like, I wouldn't say what now, but I'd say more like, you know, like it's just a big ball of confusion. And then dealing with this addiction, it's just, I feel like that's what's made it hard to move out and, you know, not move out, but move on from it and try to get away from it. And this pornography addiction led me down a really, really severe path of insanity, not only in my addiction, but in my mental health and in the way I view things and the way I spend money. And in the way I've so far, because of my addiction, I've lost over, I'd say about $3,000 in savings that I was supposed to use for adulthood. I spent it on supporting my addiction, supporting my laziness, supporting all of this. And so it just really has not been good. And and I want to be honest with you, John, because you're a doctor and, you know, you're a therapist. It led me down very hard. It led me down a path of a different type of pornography that is not who I am. I did that type of pornography because I was so desperate and felt very alone. And I still do feel very alone till this day. Like it feels like every day is a Good Friday to me, you know, and I tried to go see a therapist, and, you know, usually therapists are supposed to help you. But I felt like this guy reasoned more with what I was doing than recognizing that it was a problem and helping me switch. So eventually I stopped going. I mean, he was a nice guy, but I really didn't feel like that was, like, he was helping much. And I was...
Okay. Hold on. Stop. Okay. I got the gist of it. Are you involved in child pornography?
No. It's if you want, I can tell you which type.
Yeah.
Well, I started with straight pornography, but then I would go on this video cam website and I would masturbate with other men.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was the type that I was doing, and it goes completely against my values as you know, as a Catholic, as a Christian. It goes completely against my values as a man, as a Christian, as a person who goes and participates in the Eucharist every week.
Sure.
It feels wrong. But
Okay.
So I'm glad he kind of clarified it, because when the guy was talking about like that he started getting into like more, you know, different type of porn. I too got nervous the first time I heard about it, and I was like, "Whoa, where are we going with that?" Because yeah, um, well, he shared at the beginning. I think it makes completely sense. The aspect of feeling like nothing is working out, or you might not have anything uh in your life, that you do end up depending on this addiction, right? Especially when you're younger and you just graduated high school, you're, becoming a official adult, and now you got all these responsibilities being thrown at you. You're trying to figure out what your future is going to be and all that. I think it's a lot of responsibilities, a lot of pressure that, there's no way around it. So, you got to go through it. Where a lot of guys do end up, falling to some sort of addictive mindset and behavior. Um, the fact that just shows that it's a full blown out addiction. I mean, the fact that he's over here spending thousands of dollars to feed his addiction, and that lifestyle, that's up, man. You see it with people who use drugs and alcohol, who are spending thousands of dollars every fucking day to just get that fixing. And this is no different. Just the addiction's a little bit different. You get me? But um, and you can hear just the internal conflict that he has also with himself. Like he says, it goes completely against his spiritual principles and values. The fact that he's over here, I believe he said he's like masturbating on webcam with other dudes or whatever. Pretty much, gay porn. And it goes against like his own values and all that. And you can hear like just how he feels about it, and whether or not he might be gay, bi curious. I don't know. We're not gonna get into that topic, but if you are going through that,